Okay, so to continue our discussion about percents, we're going to talk here about converting between decimals and percents. So let's say we start with percent. We're given 23%, and we want to convert that into a decimal. So the first thing we need to do is write 23% as a fraction, so 23 over 100. And then we just need to do the division. So if I divide 23 by 100, I'm going to get 0.23. Okay, 4% we write as 4 over 100. And if we do the division, we get 0.04. Fairly simple. Now, let's say we start with a decimal, but it's a percent decimal. So I have 0.7%. I'm still going to write that as a fraction, 0.7. I put that over 100. I do the division, and that gives me 0.007. Okay? Or we can say if we were given 291%, I again put that over 100. And then that gives me 2.91. Okay? So, fairly simple to go from percentages to decimals. What about going the other direction? We're given a decimal, and I want to write it 0.6, and I want to write it as a percent. Okay? So in this case, all I need to do is multiply by 100. And that is going to be 60%. Okay? If I have 5.71, all I need to do again is multiply it by 100. And that gives me 571%. If I have a smaller decimal, and then I again take the same number, the decimal, multiply it times 100, and I'm going to have 0.8%. Okay? So pretty straightforward going between decimals and percents. A little bit more of a challenge, simply because it brings in another step, is to go from a fraction to a percent. So in this case, I want to do a percentage or a proportion. So if I do 3/8 and I want to find out what percent 3 is of 8, I'm going to set up my proportion where I have 3/8 equals x over 100. I solve for x. So I'm going to have 100, multiply both sides by 100. That leaves me x. And my x, if I do the math, I take 3 and I divide it by 8. And that is going to be 3 divided by 8 is, I don't want equals, times 0.375. So now I'm just doing what I did up here in the blue, multiplying the decimal by 100, and then that gives me 37.5%. So basically we just take the fraction, convert it to a decimal by doing the division, and multiply by 100. The proportion just reminds us to do that. Okay, so let's look at another one. If I have 8/9, and I want to figure out the percentage of that, so I'm going to take 8/9 multiplied by 100. It's going to give me my percentage, and so that is 8 divided by 9 is 0.8 8, and I'm going to round off to 9 times 100, and that is going to be 88.9%. Okay. Let's do, whoa, not what I wanted. Let's do one more. Let's do 32 over 15. And I'm curious to see what percent 32 is of 15. So again, I remind myself by setting up my proportion. Multiply both sides by 100, so that's 32 divided by 15 times 100. And 32 divided by 15 in decimal form is 2.133, rounded off, multiplied by 100, and that's going to be 213.3%. Okay, so that should be enough so that we can do problems in class, and we'll talk to you then.